Yesterday I went to the grocery store because I just needed food in general, and
Mm-hmm.
I realized that a lot of the things I normally would be getting may not be the things I could be getting. So
Mm-hmm.
for example, um, a lot of the times I like fresh fruit, but I said, well, maybe I should get frozen fruit this time.
Mm-hmm.
But do you mind sharing what kinds of things, like families specifically, may be looking at doing? Now, obviously, we are not in quarantine yet. We don't need to self isolate.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a lot of families are thinking about how their grocery shopping might need to change.
Well, there's quite a few different things. But I had I guess, a bad experience on last Friday, when I had gone to a big box store to go shopping. Apparently, there was a very big surge in grocery shopping on Friday across Canada in general, due to, I guess, some of the announcements that came out. And because of that, I was a bit concerned myself, and I started doing some research and met with some local grocers to find out what is going on with our food supply. Are we at risk for a food shortage and what have you? And I've been rest assured that there is no food supply shortage, and that we're okay. It's just because of this big surge in purchases on Friday from people being afraid. We're going to have pockets of food categories that might be low or out for another week or two. But eventually, when things stabilize and people start going back to buying what they regularly do, is a very predictable thing for grocery stores to know, I guess, sales. And the Friday surge in sales threw a lot of people off.
So should we be worried about our grocery shopping?
I don't think so at all. I think that's one of the messages I want to get across, is that we shouldn't be afraid. We don't need to over purchase. We don't need to hoard. If we do that, that's what's kind of making the system go off kilter. We really need to not panic and just purchase what you regularly do and what you regularly need. And if it's not there, go back in a couple of weeks, because it will be there.
That's really great advice. I think
Mhm.
I've noticed recently a lot of people have been really worried about particular items, um,
Mhm.
and just deciding, no, I'm going to buy it all, completely forgetting that other people need it as well.
Yeah, and it then, like, the supply chain, it's a very predictable system, and they can predict it within 10%. And what happened was Friday, and even just the mindset of people, is they're buying more than they need, and those predictions are then off. So until that sort of settles out and supply chains know, what the new buying behavior is going to be, it might be a little bit off, but the amount of food and the amount of products that we have coming in Canada is plentiful, and we're not at a state of where we should be worried at all. It's that fear that I want people to know. Don't do that, because that just makes the whole situation a little bit worse.
So that means we can still buy our regular amount of milk, fruits and vegetables. Okay to still buy fresh.
Absolutely. So, one of the things that I've been telling a lot of my clients and listeners is that, with the self-isolation that is being recommended, is we want to decrease the amount of time we're out in public. So if we are, up until this happened, I would say a lot of Canadians, they don't meal plan and they don't think about their meals. It's 4 o'clock on the way home from work, and they swing by the grocery store and pick up whatever they need for a couple of days. We got to think about getting away from that and going, okay, I want to limit the amount of time I'm going to the grocery store and being in the store. Can I plan a shop? And maybe instead of for 3 or 4 days, I'm going to plan to purchase enough stuff for a week. If you do that, then you might want to have a good combination of fresh ingredients for the beginning of the week, and then utilize things like frozen or canned or dried for the later part of the week, because sometimes those fresh foods don't necessarily last the whole week.
So for the people who usually buy their groceries almost in a day-to-day basis, how do
Mm-hmm.
they know what they actually need for a week?
Well, that is where meeting with a registered dietitian is a great thing, because we help people know how to meal plan and learn how to meal plan. That's one of the main things I've done for many years. I have an online course about it. But what it is you have to practice it. It's a skill that if you're going shopping every day, you haven't developed those skills. So the first thing I recommend is to take out a calendar, a daytime, or a planner, and pick the recipes that you want to cook for those weeks, or the week that's coming up. Do your grocery list based on what you're planning to cook, and plan that out for a week. It's effort. It's a new skill. It's going to take time, but I think that it's going to be a well-used skill that will benefit people well beyond this time of pandemic.
So what you're implying is that, sure, this is happening right now, but people may actually be developing healthier eating habits because of it?
Absolutely. Think about how we eat out a lot, and we rely on eating out or quick convenience foods, where we're going to large establishments that are crowded with a lot of people. The recommendations are to stay away from that. So that's going to bring Canadians into their homes and almost kind of force them to start getting back into the kitchen, which is one of the key messages I give all of our clients, is to start cooking more and dust off your cookbooks and start making some recipes, because that is a healthier way to eat.
So for people who are fairly new to the kitchen, do you have go-to dishes that you suggest they start learning how to make?
There's so much on the internet for looking up recipes that are simple. You can look up 5 or 6 ingredient recipes. I think there's even ones like 4 ingredient recipes. And those are always good places to start, but to not overcomplicate it. And just really think that if you're eating at home, it could be something as simple as a whole grain piece of bread, natural peanut butter, apple, and a glass of milk. And that in itself might save you from what you typically might do with, going to a takeout place for breakfast, right? You can have a at-home breakfast. It doesn't have to be complicated.
Yeah, especially if you're at home already.
Yeah, don't get stressed out about learning to cook. Just start taking it easy. You might want to start by looking up maybe cooking tutorial videos on a favorite recipe. So many blogs now have the recipe plus a little video on how to go about doing it.
So, Susan, you mentioned earlier that on your website you have different tools that people can use, and different ways that you can get in contact with them for to learn how to do this. Where can we go?
You can head over to alittlenutrition.com. So that's www.alittlenutrition.com. You can check out our recipes and our blog posts, as well as if you take a look at our free workshops. It'll head over to Nutrition Academy, where we've got courses on meal planning and how to go about starting to cook more at home.
Well, that sounds great. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me.
You're very welcome. Thank you for calling.